Today is a good day because I'm showing you how to remix Sudden Death and YAKZ and really get banger out of an already banger. I want to show you guys the techniques I use and how easy it could be for you as well. But first off, let's show you the original song. Now, the original song drop sounds like this. It's a little bit different. And that's kind of why I chose this song, is because I wanted to make it a harder drop.
Man, come on, kick it!
Looks like more rhythm, you know, just chilling with the rhythm, but I wanted to make it more aggressive. So I got the original track, and the first thing I did was I checked for the key and the BPM. Easily, I was able to find out this was 140 beats per minute. I put my session in 140, and then I used a key analyzer. I used Key Finder, but you can also use mixed in key. And I drag in the file. It analyzes it as 9A. I look at my Camelot scale at 9A. It says it's E minor. So then we choose E minor as the scale that we're going to work in, because that's the original key. And then I pull up a E minor scale to actually show me, you know, what the notes are. So when we're making the song, we know if we choose any of these notes, we'll be in key. Preferably the root note, E, the third, G, the fifth, B, the seventh, D, are good notes to use, but you could use any of them. And technically, you can even break the scale in some sections if you want. But those are the foundation. So when I got the original song, it's only one drop and a build up. And of course the intro.
The way the samurai is found in death. Rifle.
And I loved all of this.
Rifle,
but in the original,
spears, and swords.
There's no sub in this section.
Rifle, spears, and swords. And every day without fail.
So then I just added my own sub in this section. It's actually playing D and not E, which I'll get to later. But I added my own sub. I also added some effects just to add some impacts and risers.
Being ripped apart by arrows, rifle, spear.
Adding more effects to just add more movement throughout the track. Very subtle changes in the intro. And I also add like a little laser with delay. So I add little lasers with delay, but this intro section we're going to keep, and then when it starts building, breaking down and building up.
Consider himself dead. This is the substance of the way of the samurai.
I add another impact. I add the laser. Starting to slowly build. Now the actual build is really starting. The drums are starting to build up, so I start adding my own risers, as well as this one, to add extra tension in the build. I also have a sub playing right here. I'm adding my own sub just to fill out the frequency ranges. And then I start teasing the bass sound that I use. So as it starts to build up, it's slowly showing the bass, it's teasing the bass, and we're using an auto filter with a notch to bring it in. As it starts to build, I start adding my own kick to add just a stronger kick during the build, and we also add sidechain to, you know, add that pumping effect during the build, which the original song didn't have.
Come on, kick it!
We left the original pre-drop in the song, and then now this is where I basically start chopping up the original song. So we can listen to the original.
Man, come on, kick it!
So I basically left two of these hits. So if you listen to the original song, so I kept the first two, which is those two. So I keep those. And then I just get this yoy and I start using this yoy throughout the track. And then when the 4 bars ends, we add the same sound. And we're basically just looping some of the original sounds from the drop. We even take half of that pre-drop for that section. Cool. So then now you can listen to the way I made the drop, and look, I added some more effects during the pre-drop as well, like this.
Come on, kick it!
So now with this build, I wanted to add extra tension, so we did a fake drop at the beginning. There's no kick and there's no snare. Now, with the original sound, you can tell this is the call, and then we have an extra sound after that, which is the yoy, and then we need a response after the call. During this remix, that's what we're building. We're building that response. During the fake drop, we also have some risers to build the tension before it actually drops into the kick. I added my own Dripment vocal. I used vocoder.
Dripment.
It sounded like that. Sounds like that with the vocoder. If you want to see a video showing how to make those vocals, just put it in the comments below. With this song specifically, I made the main lead with audio. A lot of audio involved, and then I used my own basses to fill out the other sounds and the stereo field. So let's check it out. Now I used a MUERTE sample pack, and I basically just chopped up some bass loops. So the original bass, the main bass loop I'm using is this one, and it sounds like this. Ingested. The OG sample sounds like this. So I get a bass loop like that, and I chop it up and start adding on top of it. That bass loop I just showed you is going to be the response. But I also got another MUERTE bass loop and chopped it up to layer on top of the call that we already had from the original song. So we have this sample. It's usually an E, but I transposed it up 3 semitones, so it went up to G. So this is at G, still in scale, adding a high pitch sound, and then going back down. We also layered it with another of the same exact sound, but the original E sample. So we have multiple samples playing as soon as it starts to add that big call. Cool. Now we also have a wide bass that I add as soon as it starts to add extra wide. This is the wide bass that I make all the time. I've made a video on how to make this. All these sounds will also be on my Patreon, and you guys can also get a free download in the description, but all the other sounds will be in the Patreon. And then if you check out this wide bass, it's actually playing D instead of E. So we have this wide bass playing D, and then the main sub is also following the wide bass playing D. Usually I would say go with the root note. I thought at first I was using the root note for my sub, but it actually turns out I was using the 7th, which is the D note, and it's still in scale. It still works. So I'm just leaving it as is. If you look at my other basses that I add on top of the audio, those are in E, like this one. This is a chug. And then we have the sustain, which is also in E. So these other basses are following the main bass. And then if you see here, I also will resample the tail. So sometimes a sound will play, and I'll resample just the tail end of it, and it'll turn out like this. So when you combine both of these, it adds a nice little rhythm. And that's basically what you want to do. You just want to imagine different sounds coming, add those different rhythms so it can, make people move even more. After that, we're going to get the actual basses that we had originally, the audio, and we'll start chopping them up to make them sound differently. So in different sections, I'll be using the fades to make basses like this. Shorter basses. Just using the fades. And then in other sections, we'll be completely transposing the sample. So like in this, it's -12, using texture, using these warp modes to get different sounds. After you get those sounds, then you can really start to just move them in different sections. And if you see my whole drop, it's going to be 32 bars. And if you split it down into 16, and then you split it back down into 8, and you can start seeing how we made this. Split it down into 4. And when you start making it, you'll start in 4-bar sections and start expanding until you have the full 32. And then I want you guys to hear all the basses together. If you see the sustain is only coming on in certain sections, it's off most of the time, coming on in certain sections where I want it to come in. All right, so after the first 16 bars here, we take out, the original kick and clap combo, and we start adding a 128 to add more energy. Sounds like this. While that kick is building up, we use an auto filter to filter out all the basses. To make it sound crispy. And this is the second phrase of the drop, so we're going to make it a little bit different, add different rhythm. When I layer these out, I'm really just going by ear. If I like the sound of it, I'll put it in and just trial and error until we find a good loop. I started with this audio loop, then started to add the basses, like this chug. The sub is basically just playing a full sub. It is in D, it is an operator, and the side chain is basically shaping the sub while it's playing. In certain fill sections, I use this almond break. As you see, there's a lot of risers going on throughout the drop to keep building energy and dropping it back. I'll add effects like sirens, gunshots. And I'm doing all of these things just to give you ear candy to make sure that each, 8-bar phrase is not the same, to keep changing the rhythm and the flow to make the listener, interested the whole time. After you get your first 32-bar section and add your basses, then you can get any part of the intro and start to rebuild. Go back to a breakdown. Using the filter to bring it in. I basically duplicated the intro just to add more time. Using the filter to bring it in. I skipped the section with the vocals because at the beginning of this it had vocals, but during this breakdown I only used basically this section, and then it starts building up again. Same effects as the intro, and I change it up a little bit from this section.
Come on, kick.
Now during the second drop, we didn't want to keep it the same, so we did a little bit differently. I got the same sample we were using, and I extended it really long. So I used Shift, grabbed the top of this, extend, and made a different sound. And we used the texture modes to make it sound, clean and crazy. I found that, and I really liked it. And that was part of the fake drop. And then as soon as the drop hits, I add a new bass, which is like a sustain. I can give this will be the free download, this sustain. All the other basses will be in the Patreon. And real quick, my kick is just MUERTE kicks. We got the rhythm pattern, the kick on top of the clap, and then our clap is one of these, one of these, one of these. And that's the drums, very simple drums. It's actually a pretty simple song. I want you guys to use these techniques to start making your own remixes and start getting yourself known. Spread your music to the masses. Keep making originals, but also start working on remixing your favorite tracks. Once again, hit me up in my Patreon. You can get free sounds, free presets, free rack. It's amazing, honestly. We're gonna keep making good music and keep making bangers. Hit me up in my Discord if you guys want to talk. Otherwise, like, subscribe. Thank you for the support. You guys have been amazing.